Hoy estoy aquí con Noir Tribe. Es un proyecto muy especial porque a diferencia de los otros que se trataban, estaban más cerquita a la industria de la moda y de los productos en sí. Noir Tribe es una agencia de comunicaciones que lo que hace es apoyar a marcas de moda sostenible a que su comunicación llegue mejor a los consumidores y que los consumidores entiendan el valor de consumir más sostenible. Eh, Noir Tribe está compuesto por Luis y Amber. Luis es colombiano, Amber es de Estados Unidos. Entonces la entrevista la vamos a hacer online y la vamos a hacer en inglés. Yo me voy en chiquitito a la esquina y ellos vienen en grande en la pantalla. Hola chicos.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for being with me and for taking your time to explain your project and your mission.
Of course, it's absolutely a huge pleasure to join you.
Thanks. And so tell us, what's Noir Tribe and why you started this project?
Okay, so Noir Tribe is essentially a storytelling studio that it's the two of us, ranging from the two of us on small projects to, of course, bigger teams on larger projects. And we founded, I think, 5-6 years ago, combining our experience. So Luis comes from a background of advertising, and I come from a background of independent film. And he also had experience with fashion, and I just love fashion. So we really wanted to create content for fashion brands, and that's essentially where we started. In terms of the name of Noir Tribe, we wanted something that really embodied our mood, especially in the beginning. We found inspiration from noir films like the femme fatale and the black and white and the cinematic and the drama and all of that. We always found ourselves wearing a lot of black as well. So we just found like that general, like a huge fan of Alexander McQueen and of sort of gothic, like neo-gothic styling. That's where the noir comes from. And then the tribe was really just like trying to create this community, like bring people together that revolve around this particular kind of mood. So that's where we started. And we started with just conventional fashion. And we were creating content at Fashion Week, at New York Fashion Week, and creating relationships with those designers. And one of those designers, Ricardo Seco from Mexico, he invited us. We created a long working relationship with him. And he invited us to Mexico to create a documentary. And I don't know, you want to talk about that?
So we went to Mexico to create a documentary that basically followed his inspiration for his upcoming collection. This was 2013 or 14, something like that. Basically was that. It wasn't too much planning. Was let's just go there and follow him. And his collection at that time was inspired in the Huichol tribe, a Mexican tribe community. But he doesn't just want to take their art. He want to really go and explore what they were doing. So we went to where the Huichol were living in Guadalajara, up in the mountain, in the Sierra Madre, that's how they call. And doing that project and looking fashion in another perspective, that's when we felt that our life and our company and everything just changed. Like being there, we realized that this is something that we want to do, like telling these fashion stories, but based in another, with other look. It's not just the look that we see in the magazine or the commercial. We want to tell the stories behind. So that's how we start to switch our company to like have a different perspective about fashion. And we found and we start to learn about ethical fashion and ethical movement and all this social fashion that was around the world that we haven't seen before. And kind of like being in Mexico opened our eyes to a new idea of fashion. And that's how we start to switch, like I would say 3 or 4 years ago. And now we're trying to focus just in brands that they are working in this way. Is more difficult, and they're a smaller brand, and it's a an upcoming market, but it's still too small. But that's our passion now. Like just work with this brand that have a nice vision and a different vision of the world, but also understand that fashion is a business, and you also need to create material to sell, because we all need to make our living. So it's not just social project, it's also like social projects to also have an idea to become sustainable for people who need money and need to sell, and in different perspective, but kind of like what's more like that.
Is sustainability the main anchor to buy?
It's kind of like a tricky question, and I don't think is an answer. It's not black and white. Is you need to really know your audience and find out what they want, what they need, and what you want to talk, and what because we can't forget that also it's fashion, and the first impression is through our eyes. And I can judge if this sweater was made, or who was made, or for who, where. I just care. My first impression is how it looks, and if I like it. Mm-hmm. And after that, when I try it, I can do my research, like see the tag and see all of that. That's my own process. So I think, like, if I put it in my experience, I don't know if this kind of like answer your question, but in my experience, try clothes and I see how fit and how it looks in me first. And after that, I do the research where that came from and all that. Probably other people, like other brands, have different perspective. So there's brands that care about how looks their clothes, and it's gonna be like that example that I just gave about me. And it's other brands that are gonna see and gonna look the tag first and see the label. So it's the same with consumers. I think there's people who care about the fashion. There's people who care about the process in how we make it, and there's people who care about both. So I think the important is, like, brands need to really know to who they are talking, and that's what we need to find before we jump and film something, is who we're gonna talk and what we need to tell to them, to see what's the best way to reach them. And I think even like the stories behind the pieces, they are not that important if the piece is not good. If the quality is not good, if it's not a good design, I don't care if it was made like, in the most important, I don't know, more social conscious way. It still need to be something that your consumers want to buy and want to feel like, oh yeah, I want to own this and I want to pay for this, even if it's cheap or expensive. Still need to be a good product. So we can mix, like, ethical fashion can jump all the quality standards. Need to be good pieces that people want to buy and want to invest on them. So yeah, I don't know if I.
Well, I'd like to add to that. So I think this is a perfect example of how different consumers shop, because Luis goes for this color and this shirt because he's out in a store and he goes, oh, I really like that, and try it on, and then maybe look at the label. But if you really love it, maybe you used to buy it. And I think I'm the opposite, because I'm not shopping in stores so much. So, like, I'm really focusing on the brands that I believe to be sustainable, and I follow, I get their newsletters, I'm shopping online, and so I've completely eliminated other options to begin with. So that's my first requirement, is that I believe in whether it's Everlane or whether it's Naha or like these brands that I really follow. Some out of curiosity, just to see what is their marketing, how are they marketing themselves. I do it from a research point of view, but then I also do it from like, oh no, I really like their message, I really like what they stand for, I like the direction they're going, and then, oh, I really like that shirt. But then the next facet of that comes into play, which is I'll buy the t-shirt or I'll buy the jeans, whatever it is, and then if I don't have a good experience with that, I won't give that brand another chance. So I think that's the interesting thing with fashion, is it has to, I feel like, be evenly valued, the aesthetic and the ethical fashion, which is kind of where our aesthetic series comes into play.
Okay, cool.
When I was learning, when we were learning about sustainable fashion, and I watched The True Cost the first time, and there's that montage in the middle about Black Friday, and like every time I see it I cry, like it just breaks my heart. And they're showing, of course, the contrast of the people and their living conditions, the people who are making the clothes, and then people gratuitously running into stores and just grabbing things. It's grotesque. And there's, of course, footage of Fashion Week, of showing the privilege and the luxury, and then people in their living conditions again. And there's this one clip that always gets me, because it's a model that we shot in our first season of New York Fashion Week. And I saw her face, and then there were a few clips after that of like people jumping around, marketing materials of young, sexy models, like in their clothes, and the sales and all of that. And in that montage, I realized, like, we are making that content. Like, I know that we always blame the brand for having the cheap clothes and not treating the workers well, but it's also, we're just trying to make a living making fashion content, and I see that and I go, but we're the ones that are perpetuating the branding. We're the ones saying that brand is cool, buy that brand. And we have worked with conventional brands that when you get up close to the clothing, it's so cheap, and you go like, we're making your clothes look expensive, we're making your clothes look good, and it's our fault. It's our fault to a certain degree that people are buying the clothes, or maybe to a great degree. Maybe it's the marketing that you see Beyonce, you see Beckham, you see celebrities in clothes. If you saw those clothes up close, you go, this isn't worth the money. We need to create the same content for the brands that can't afford it, because how can you compete with these massive brands? And so that was sort of a seed of this idea.
I think like the people who create the content, like us or photographers or stylists, we have an incredible responsibility in all these issues, because how Amber was saying, we create that, we create how it's look. And I kind of like have this in my mind. I worked for so many years in my life in retouching photos for the fashion industry, and I love it. I really enjoy that process and all the options that you get with Photoshop. But Photoshop was so good for photography that allows our mind just explode and create a scenario that we never can create, but also bring this huge problem that we were creating people who wasn't exist. We were creating models that were real, and we were just shaping bodies to different shapes, and all that go into the magazine, and people see it like we see it, like, and now we are mid-30s, but imagine that impact in young people. So in that moment, like, we are so responsible with the material that we are creating, the people who make it. So I think like photographers and filmmakers and all of us that we are like behind the camera, we also need to take our position and be responsible with this, and say the brands, let's try to bring other kind of models. Let's change the stereotypes. Let's say the photographer that is working with us, let's try to don't retouch the photos. I know how difficult it is, because I do that before, and I know it's a step, and you need to get out of your comfort zone. But if we don't change, we can ask brands change, and we can ask the consumer to change. It's like, we are all in the same circle, so we can't pretend that it's just them and we don't have any responsibility. So I think that's our idea with the company, is like create content and try to, the people that work with us, and when we have a big project that we try to bring other people, is say like, okay, you also need to understand what is our idea and our belief, like our principles, and you need to follow them. Otherwise, this is not a project for you.
But that's really cool. That's really
cool. So we are trying to, with our ethical series, we are trying to have a manual where we kind to describe to every single person how you can be ethical. And it's not only the clothes. It starts for the designers. but also go to the photographer, also go to the makeup artist, also go to the stylist person. And I can say to the stylist person, I'm going to give you a budget, but you're going to go and buy secondhand clothes, or you're going to go and find something that is already made. You're not going to just buy something and throw it away. Or I can tell the makeup artist, let's try. It's not an obligation, but let's try to get products that they are vegan or they are not tested in animals. There's like, I can tell to the producer, let's try to get, I don't know, disposable dishes for the production that they are made with coconut plants, whatever. I don't know. I know it's difficult, but if we introduce the seed in the people are going to just have a little more conscious. And it's going to be difficult in the beginning, but after you have that seed in your mind, you don't go back, So that's something that you can perpetrate into your clients. I have a closer friend, she's a photographer, and I was having this argue about, I don't want that you retouch the photos. And she's going to see this video and she's going to know it's her. So we have this argue going back and forward so many times. Yeah, like, hi, this is about you. And we argue so many times, and I'm like, I just want that you just try. And the project doesn't happen yet, but she texted me like 1 month ago, telling me that she proposed to her client to don't retouch the picture and explain why. And the client said it's a huge client. They say yes. So it's great that now she have that in her mind. So.
Nice.
If our project is going to happen, but now it's like, it's a little victory for her and for us and for everyone. It's like just change the perspective of how you do things and how we can change everything together.
If we talk to marketers and you want to tell them 3 things that they can do to change the way they work, what would you recommend to them?
Well, I think going off of what I was saying before, like, I think number one, you have to think about how you work. Like, how you work, does it reflect your values? So how can you be more ethical? How can you be more sustainable? Of course, if it was easy, then everyone would do it. So it's making baby steps. It's making these baby steps of like having an idea and then saying, okay, how can I implement that slowly? How can I be more? I mean, everybody knows about recycling. Like, we just take it for granted that we recycle, and we're learning now maybe recycling isn't the best. Maybe it's not using the thing in the first place. So, like, these ideas change, but they become commonplace. So, okay, in your business, you already recycle, but what can you do after that ecologically? Or what can you do after that sustainably? Or what can you do after that socially? Like, I would say in fashion, like, let's get away from these crazy stereotypes. Like, in terms of talking about having positive role models, like, let's have real people. Let's have reality. Like, I know that we want fantasy to get away from reality because everything's so crazy now, but that's what we've been driving to all of our clients is like, please, because we really have no control over casting. And I really want my clients to come to me and say, I want real bodies. Not real bodies. Everybody's a real body. Well, not everybody's a real body, but everybody has value, but like, let's see some diversity. Let's see diversity in size, in shape, in color, in age, in ability and disability. Like, we need to represent these things so that everybody feels beautiful. Everybody looks at it and goes, oh, I deserve to buy that brand. And I know that there's some brands that they go, oh no, we don't want that because it'll make our brand cheaper or it'll make our brand less exclusive. And I'm not really interested in that. Like, I'm not interested in, like, snobs in like, yeah, so like equality and diversity. I think that's one thing. You have another thing?
Yeah.
That kind of 3.
Yeah. I would say that the marketing people need to realize how consumers are buying now. And I think it's really important that people want something that is authentic. So
Hey, wait. 1 sec. Sorry. We're gonna cut this because like my computer is like running out of space.
Oh.
Wait,
was long.
because I have this beautiful Mac that doesn't have anything like that. You know, this MacBook Pro that.
Marketing, the people who is in charge of marketing need to see that this switch in the entire consumers about something that is more authentic, and I think that's also need to be represented in the content that we create. Like, if I take a photo and I retouch it in a way that people doesn't feel represented, like people gonna reject your brand more than feel like, oh, I want to look like that. That was like maybe 15 years ago. That's not happening now. So we need to understand that new consumers it's not new consumer. We are all consumers. I'm not that young, but I changed my mind to how I was buying, 15 years ago. So everything is changing. So we need to understand that how we communicate and what we are saying need to change. And people now want real things. People want to feel representing what they are looking, and the story is real, and it's not like you are trying just to selling me something. Of course, I understand you need to sell something, but there is more than that. It needs to be more than just a transaction about money. So there is incredible brands that have clients that they are devoted to their brands because they have really strong values. Like if you go to Patagonia, for example, like I'm sure their consumers, they love their stories because they are so real. You go and see their films and they are like, I really believe that this guy had this shirt for 20 years. Yeah. They show me him and they are with him in the beach and they tell all the stories. So people is really attracted to the story that they are behind the garments and how authentic they need to be. Because if I create that story just in fiction, I create this imaginary character to say something that is not real, and your consumers find that it's not real, that's the end for your brand. So you need to be authentic, you need to be honest with your message, and you just need to go and look how your consumer is changing, because the same consumer that was from Levi's 20 years ago is not the same one today, even if they are still buying the same product. But I change, the brand needs to change in the same way that the world is changing.
Cool.
I would say, I thought of another, I suppose, number 3 is for fashion marketers, like look outside of fashion for inspiration. So I think going off of this idea of authenticity, I feel it's so boring to see, and we're guilty of having made this content because it's the easy thing to do, but just seeing a model in the clothes, like, that's not a fashion film. It's not a fashion film unless you have some concept, unless you have maybe some movement or some story. I mean, not necessarily all of those things, but like, I want to see the clothes and I want to see a camera moving, but like, it's not a photo shoot. It's not a photo shoot where you see the model and you take a picture and maybe move the camera a little. Like, you need to get them to do something, and maybe bring a writer, bring a writer. I think that fashion is used to working with such small budgets that you don't have any pre-production, you don't have any concept, you don't have any writing, you just go and you shoot. So of course, then you have the models. What can you do? What can the model do? And that's your project. And we've been in that situation that we do the most that we can with that person, because the number one priority is how they look. And maybe we're going to move into this direction that we're not as concerned with what the model looks like, but what the model can do. Can the model act? Can the model, is the model a professional? Is it a professional athlete who really wears the shorts? Like, maybe then that will move closer to authenticity. Like, who is this person that really wears these clothes? What's a story about them, or what's a concept about them? And just make it a little bit harder for yourself. Like, make it a little bit harder, make it a little bit more interesting. Because in my opinion, that's the only way you're going to stand out. If you just keep making the same image over and over again, people are going to be in their feed and just go past it. Like, do something different. Like, really, these sustainable brands, they're trying to make a difference. So make a difference all the way. Like, take a risk, tell an interesting story, cast an interesting subject, and like, then you're going to get people's attention.
Cool. Well, I think we're done until here. Like, these messages are perfect and very inspiring. And I'm really amazed because I knew about you, but I didn't know until which depth you would getting. And I think you're gonna make a difference. And I think you have to consider in teaching many other fashion agencies and all these values and how this can also help them to deliver more value to their clients. So thank you very much, and I'm really inspired and really thankful for you for taking your time to tell us about your story and your experience, and hoping to see you soon in Peru, in Colombia, or anywhere here.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Ciao.